They laughed as a scarred woman was auctioned away for just $3. But the moment she whispered her name, the man who bought her froze, because he recognized her voice from a night that should have ended with his death. What secret connected a wanted woman hiding behind a shawl and a lonely logger living deep in the wilderness? And why did a ruthless bounty hunter suddenly appear to hunt her down? To find out what happened next, watch the full story till the end, and follow our page for more unforgettable frontier tales. Before we start the story, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is right now? A cold spring wind swept through the dusty streets of Dakota Crossing in the year 1869. The wind carried red dirt from the endless plains and threw it against every building in town. Dust covered the wooden sidewalks, the horses, and the tired faces of the people who lived there. Near the center of town, a crowd of rough men gathered around a small wooden platform. They laughed loudly, drank cheap whiskey, and shouted insults at anyone weaker than themselves. Standing alone on that platform was a woman. Her wrists were tied loosely with an old rope. A faded shawl covered the right side of her face. Her dress was worn and stained from years of hardship. She stood straight despite everything. Her name was Wabaha, though nobody there knew it. The sheriff slammed a wooden gavel against the platform. "All right, boys, last piece of the day." The crowd laughed. The sheriff pointed toward Wabaha. "No name? No face? Hell, not much of a woman either. Starting bid, $2. More laughter erupted. "Take off the rag. Let's see what she's hiding. Bet she's ugly enough to scare a horse." Wabaha remained silent. Inside, her heart hurt, but she refused to let them see it. She looked across the crowd like a wounded wolf surrounded by hunters. Not a single face showed kindness. Then something changed. The laughter slowly died. Heads turned. The crowd parted. A tall man walked forward through the dust. His coat was old. His boots were covered in dried mud. His black hat shaded most of his face. He looked like a man who spent more time with trees than people. His name was Silas Boone. The town knew him as a logger who lived alone deep in the forest. Silas stopped in front of the platform. His eyes met Wabaha's. He did not stare at the shawl. He did not search for flaws. He simply looked into her eyes. $3, he said calmly. The sheriff blinked. "You sure, Silas? Don't you want to see what you're buying first?" Silas never looked away from Wabaha. "I'm not buying a face." The crowd fell silent. Silas continued, "I'm marrying a person." For a moment, nobody spoke. Even the wind seemed quieter. The sheriff awkwardly handed him a paper. Silas signed it. Then the sheriff turned to the woman. "Name?" For a second she hesitated. Then she spoke softly. "Wabaha." The moment Silas heard her voice, his entire body froze. A memory flashed through his mind. Snow, darkness, pain, a woman's voice. 3 years earlier, a voice that had saved his life. But Silas said nothing. He simply stepped onto the platform and gently touched her arm. "You're safe now." For the first time in years, Wabaha felt something she had nearly forgotten. Safety. Without another word, they left town together. The journey through the forest was quiet. Silas walked ahead leading a mule. Wabaha followed behind. Neither of them spoke much. Yet the silence felt peaceful, not uncomfortable. Just two lonely people carrying their own scars. By sunset, they reached Silas's cabin. It stood alone among tall pine trees. Strong, simple, quiet. Silas opened the door. "You can stay wherever you want." Wabaha stepped inside carefully. She immediately chose the farthest corner of the room and sat against the wall. She kept the shawl over her face, kept her distance, kept her guard up. Silas didn't question it. He simply built a fire. Soon, warm orange light filled the cabin. The smell of soup drifted through the room. When dinner was ready, Silas placed 3 bowls on the table. Wabaha noticed. 3, not 2. Silas sat down. "Before today, I always made 2 bowls." Wabaha looked up. Silas smiled faintly. "One for me. One to remind myself I made it home alive." His eyes moved toward her bowl. "Now one is for you." Something inside Wabaha shifted. Only slightly, but it was enough. That night, neither of them spoke much. Yet for the first time in years, Wabaha slept without fear that someone would break through the door. Later, after she had fallen asleep, Silas sat by the dying fire. His thoughts drifted back 3 years. He remembered getting lost during a terrible winter storm. He had fallen into deep snow after injuring his leg. He should have died there. But someone had found him. A woman. Her face hidden by a shawl. She had dragged him to a hidden cave, treated his wounds, fed him medicine, stayed beside him all night, then disappeared before morning. The only thing she left behind was a small piece of cloth embroidered with purple flowers. Silas still carried it in his coat pocket. And now, the voice he had heard today belonged to the same woman. He was certain. But he chose not to tell her. Not yet. The next morning, Wabaha stepped outside alone. She sat beneath a large pine tree. The morning sunlight touched her face. Slowly, trembling slightly, she loosened the shawl. Fresh air touched her skin. For the first time in years. Nearby, Silas quietly worked on a saw blade. Without looking at her, he spoke. 3 winters ago, someone saved my life." Wabaha froze. Silas continued. "She wore a shawl. Never told me her name." Wabaha's heart began beating faster. Her voice sounded exactly like yours. Slowly, she turned toward him. Then she removed the shawl completely. Silas finally saw her face. A long scar stretched from her temple to her jaw. Deep. Permanent. But he didn't react. Didn't flinch. Didn't stare. Wabaha swallowed hard. Then she finally told him everything. About the inn. About the owner. About the night he tried to force himself on her. About how she fought back. How he slipped. How his head struck the stove. How he died. Tears filled her eyes. "They said I murdered him." Her voice shook. "No one believed me." She looked down. "They sold me to pay his debts." Silas listened quietly. No judgment. No anger. Only understanding. When she finished, he simply nodded. "Thank you for telling me." That was all. No accusations. No suspicion. Just gratitude. And for the first time in years, Wabaha felt seen. Not as a criminal. Not as a scar. Not as a burden. As a person. A few days later, Wabaha woke up and found something waiting on the table. A mirror. and a beautiful sea blue silk scarf. She stared at them. Slowly, she looked into the mirror. The scar was still there. But for the first time, she saw something else. Herself. Not a monster. Not a victim. A woman. Silas appeared in the doorway. That scarf belonged to my wife. Wabaha looked at him. Silas smiled softly. She wore it whenever she needed to feel like herself. Then he added quietly, "I thought maybe it would suit you too." Tears filled Wabaha's eyes. Silas continued, "Anyone who judges you because of what you've survived is blind." A tear rolled down her cheek. And blind people have no right to judge beauty. Wabaha cried openly then, not from pain, from relief. Their peaceful life lasted for several months. Then danger arrived. A bounty hunter named Cutter rode into the region. He had heard rumors. A scarred woman, a wanted woman, living in the woods with a logger. He began asking questions. Silas knew immediately. "He's hunting you." Wabaha remained calm. Then she opened a wooden trunk. Inside lay the old shawl. She held it carefully. "I'll wear it one more time." Silas frowned. "You don't have to." She smiled slightly. "This time, I'm choosing it." Together they made a plan. Wabaha would ride east wearing the shawl. Cutter would follow. Silas and the sheriff would wait ahead. The trap worked perfectly. Cutter chased her straight into it. By sunset he was arrested. As the officers led him away, Wabaha slowly removed the shawl. She folded it neatly. Silas looked at her. "What will you do with it now?" She smiled. "Keep it." "Why?" She looked toward the forest. "Because it reminds me that even something that once trapped me can become my shield." For the first time, there was real light in her eyes. A few weeks later, another visitor arrived. A woman named Mavis. The moment Wabaha saw her, she recognized her. Mavis had worked at the inn years ago. Tears filled Mavis's eyes. "I saw everything that night." Wabaha's breath caught. Mavis looked down. "I was scared." Her voice trembled. "I should have spoken then." She looked directly at Wabaha. "But I'll speak now." That evening she wrote an official statement. She described exactly what happened, how the inn owner attacked Wabaha, how Wabaha acted in self-defense, how she had been wrongly blamed. The statement was sent to the authorities. Then they waited. Weeks passed. Finally, one morning, the sheriff arrived with an envelope. Silas opened it, then handed it to Wabaha. Her hand shook as she read. All charges dropped. Arrest warrant canceled. Case closed. Wabaha read the words again and again. Then she walked outside to the old pine tree. She sat beneath it and closed her eyes. For several minutes she simply breathed. Finally she whispered, "I don't have to run anymore." Spring covered the hills with green life. Flowers bloomed. Birds sang. The forest felt different now, lighter, peaceful. And one day, Silas built a small wedding arch outside the cabin. Nothing fancy, just strong wood and honest work. A few friends gathered. Mavis came. The blacksmith came. The grocer's wife brought flowers. Inside the cabin, Wabaha stood before her mirror. She wore a simple handmade dress. In her hair rested the sea blue scarf, not hiding her face, not hiding her scar. simply decorating the woman she had become. When she stepped outside, Silas forgot to breathe. She looked beautiful. Not because the scar was hidden, because she was finally free. Under the arch, Silas took her hand. His voice was steady. "I chose you the first day I saw you." Tears filled Wabaha's eyes. Silas smiled. "And I'd choose you again every day after." Wabaha squeezed his hand. "And I choose you too." There was no preacher, no grand ceremony. Only truth, only love, only people who cared. As they kissed beneath the pine trees, a soft breeze lifted the blue scarf. The same scarf that once symbolized fear. The same scarf that once hid pain. Now it represented strength, choice, freedom, and love. That evening they sat together beneath the stars. Wabaha rested her head on Silas's shoulder. The scarf lay folded in her lap. She ran her fingers across the silk. "It's strange," "This used to carry all my fears." Silas squeezed her hand. "And now?" Wabaha smiled. "Now it carries all my choices." Above them, thousands of stars shone over the silent forest. The forest that once felt like a prison now felt like home. Their scars had not disappeared. Their painful memories remained, but they no longer controlled them. Because true healing is not forgetting the past. It is learning to live beyond it. And beneath those tall pines, Wabaha and Silas finally found what so many people spend their entire lives searching for. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way till the end. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. It really helps us a lot. If you want to watch more exciting stories like this, don't forget to subscribe our page right now. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is right now? And if this story touched your heart, please send some stars. Every single star gives us huge motivation to keep creating more amazing videos for you. See you in the next story. Take care of you, friends.